trust relationship between the body consciousness and the more evolved part of our consciousness. So because we've had our soul separated from identifying with the body, because it's been referred to as a meat suit instead of another digit, another organ that's a part of the entirety of our being. So the enslavement of the soul to a mass consciousness. So instead of our own a computer illustration is the most relatable nowadays. So instead of the computer room and the control room with the soul and the body, and of course that's all inwards, it's not really layered outwards unless we're a slave to the outer one. So, we have mass consciousness and other beings working the control room, controlling the soul, bypassing the soul, or sending through the soul messages to cause the body to suffer, which the soul's perspective is then submerged in and limited, and this is coming at me, that's coming at me, what I do to cause that, I can't do this, and the programming in the body becomes routine. This is how we deal with this is how we deal with that, and that's a big mess. But once you get rid of it, it's like cast it off inward, and it's awfully clear and clean in here. Breath of fresh air just keeps coming in. But like this morning, I'm finally able to address a difference between the consciousness that had identified solely with the body and the part that had been separated and saw itself as this magical, able to heal person. I'm a smoker. I've been a smoker since I was 18 years old. That's over 30 years. And yeah, I've quit a couple times for a couple of weeks. Then life just plunges me back into hellish circumstances. And that's the only thing I got that's familiar, that's stable, until it isn't. And then it just becomes a lot of anger, because that was the one stability. That's the one thing my kids couldn't take out of my mouth. I could legitimately say, no, you can't have that. And I'd have the support of other people around me. But then you get all the yucky projections about, oh, they're a smoker, oh, they're filthy, oh, they're... And most people, I've had friends that are just like, it doesn't even register in their mind that I smoke. They're like, you smoke? Like, yeah, remember I went out for a smoke break? And then when, I've gone to doctors, my lungs, they took an x-ray, my lungs were pink as if I had never smoked. So I've had these experiences, these magical experiences, and then I have the experiences where my body absolutely is perceived as failing me. And so I know when I wake up in the morning, the first thing, thoughts start coming towards my head. Where they're coming from doesn't matter. But it's, okay, stop, breathe, focus, take care of whatever's going on here before moving on with the rest of my day. So yeah, coffee and a cigarette is what we do. This is the habit. This is the ritual. And now my body is supposedly paying for that ritual that has served me so well. I mean, I've gone out for a smoke break and other people out on a smoke break and had conversations I would have never had where people are not smoking cigarettes. So it's served in many ways, shapes, and forms. But I'm waking up, and every time I light up, even before I do, there's an anxiety that comes in. There's my energy just immediately lowers, and it used to never happen. And so this morning for me was the admission between these two aspects of myself. And then of course there's the roily toily of the energy moving inside, and the nausea and the anxiety, and then it's just like this huge monster just woof And it's not a monster. I don't have like some monster that comes and possesses me and, boogity boogity. But I'm describing how the energy feels. It's just this huge roar coming up within me. As just the parts of me that part of me, the more passionate, all that energy from the subconscious intelligence that had been repressed and everything is able to stretch out more, because that's what it is where this little spark of light, all this biology comes together and woo, there's a little spark of life in the soul, and then its own matrix. This is the way it's supposed to happen, and then it fills up that body and it expands into the energy field around the body, and it tickles the energy field of all these little sparks of life all around it. That's the way it's supposed to work. And instead of just and it's in there, turns into a golem. My precious, They're like, so now, like, there's resolution between, how dare you make me fear my ritual, and you could tell now all the energies like that had these pagan rituals that were then demonized and twisted, and they're all coming in now listening to this like, how dare you fuck with my ritual. It's just energy, man. Energy's energy. My body is an energy transformer. So yeah, it's just like this thing that expands itself into me, and that's exciting. But it didn't feel very exciting this morning when it first started, because again, it was the wrestling and all these different aspects and everything like that, and the nausea, and then the more fear, more anxiety. That's just how it goes. We wake up, fear and anxiety, and hopefully now I know that routine is ending, because I haven't had this fear and anxiety the past few mornings. There are gaps in it now. But this is one of the root ones. If this affects my daily thing, then this is a root cause, and it's being healed. It's being released. And so the shackles have come off, and there's just more of me that might have taken on a male personality, or may have been an aspect of the original source that had been rejected by the feminine, shot out to the far reaches of the galaxy, here on this little baby planet that formed due to that conflict, And that's another thought that popped into my head, was the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks. They're always saying, you're on the leading edge of creation. You're on the leading edge. Don't look back. Don't look at the negative. Keep creating. Keep creating. It just occurred to me, no, they're the ones that are trying to run away. Trying to run away from the resolution that used to be a source of conflict. So the original source, the original waking up and aware that there's something else there, sparks conflict, woo, off it goes. And so they only remember the energy of mother father, and they didn't have any concept that it was a mother father energy, a masculine and feminine. They had no concept. It was just, you stay the fuck away from them and just keep projecting good thoughts, keep it, build it, add to it, create momentum, keep going to the farthest reaches beyond that leading edge of creation. Oh, speed it up with intense light. They're like, that's another thing that came up, was, you have these monks on these mountains, bringing in the light. You bring in more light, you increase momentum, and most people, that creates anxiety, that creates more chaos. And so you want to be aware of how much light you're bringing into an environment. I'm glad that all this information that's usually associated with light came into my life. about attunement and working with energy, and it has served in a good way. This is true. But I can also see where too much light, not used with complete understanding and effectiveness, like I had said before, my initial awakening, I was up in the upper echelons of, these channelers known around the world. That was my association level. And I saw it, and I knew about, the parlor tricks, the levitation, the telepathy, the telekinesis. I knew that was a potential, that those were real. But they are not useful to a normal person living a normal life. And so that's why I released all of that and tried to discover another path and another way. And so there are times when light does not serve. Sometimes a dish of darkness, a dish of confusion is what is needed. Because, look, I see this confusion. I share this confusion. I think if we do this, maybe it will help. Then a little bit of so-called light, understanding can come in. And not all understanding or perception of a situation is beneficial. It's not a light that we want to plug into. I understand how when I went through cult recovery, maintaining my children's boundaries, I understood how they perceive me as abusive. Do I want to adopt that perspective? No, that is not light. Okay? So all this light of understanding that they say they're bringing in isn't always a light we want to plug into. It's not an understanding we want to adopt. I accept that it exists. Acceptance doesn't mean I have to accept it as part of my conditioning and programming and say, hey, it's a great thing. No, I can accept it by saying, I understand. This is the perspective. To you, your way of showing affection is what is natural and normal. I don't have to perceive it that way. I see the negative effects of it. I do not consider it. I am not discerning it as normal, natural, or healthy. So I respect that you see me as abusive, depriving my children of your definition of natural, while enforcing what I'm experiencing as naturally empowering, nurturing, and protecting my children. And so that was this morning struggle, brought into a bigger picture on what happens that other people might have in common, the source of it, and how to deal with some of these conflicts, what's considered light, whether or not it's a good thing, and how best to serve ourselves. Because unless we can serve ourselves and let ourselves expand into that full blossom being that we can be, we're not helping other people. Time to just bulk up, baby.